Okay, so we're going to uh, go back into SketchUp. The first video was on how to log in. I'm going to just really quickly do that again. But then once we get in there, we will show you guys how to change up the display, how to zoom, how to pan, how to orbit, all kinds of tools to help us look at our model a little more efficiently. Okay. So if you recall, in order to get into SketchUp from last time, we made sure we were logged in to our account. We went to the Google app, we clicked on it, we scrolled down to SketchUp for Schools, and we logged in. Now, this login process might have caused this little pop-up blocked thing to appear. I turned it back on so you guys could see what that would look like again. And so what we did is we clicked on pop-ups blocked. We said always allow pop-ups. We click done. Then we click continue. And then that would pop up and we would be in our window. Sorry, I just need to change windows. Google Classroom's being a little, Google Meet's being a little bit crazy. All right. So now we're back into our SketchUp for Schools. And we created this file called starting file Sturkin. If you wanted to open that file, you could just click it. If you wanted to create a new file, you would click on this down arrow and choose your units. Okay. So I'm going to just click on that file, just open up the old file that we made the last time. And we're going to talk a little bit about what we're looking at here, okay? So we already talked very briefly about the red, green, and blue axes, the X, Y, and Z axes. These are to help us understand which way is length, width, and height. But honestly, once we get started drawing and there's something that we're modeling in here, it's going to be more relevant to you to pay attention to your actual objects that are in there. Okay. On the right hand side are a series of tools that we're not going to get to for a little bit. There's a few tools that we might look at. We're not going to look at all these tools. They're more advanced things. At the top, we already saw that we can save a file. We can open a file. If you click here, we can import, export, download, do all kinds of other things as well. But for the most part, you're going to be either creating new files, opening, or saving files. Okay. Later, once we start drawing, the undo and redo buttons are up here. And the majority of the tools we're going to learn to begin with as beginners is this left side right here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on the display tools because that's the purpose of this particular lesson. But we will learn about the rest of these as we go forward. Okay. So I'm going to skip over a whole bunch of these and we're going to focus down here on the bottom. Okay. So here's the tool called Orbit. Okay. Orbit. What does it do? Well, it basically lets me spin the world around. So if I click on it, you'll notice that my pointer changes to the symbol. Looks like an arrow going around a stick. That stick represents our axes. And so if I press the left mouse button down and then pull my mouse to the right, I rotate towards the right. If I go to the left, I rotate towards the left. Okay, if I rotate or move the mouse up, I rotate upwards, and I kind of see that the floor goes transparent in that case, looking at the sky. Or I can go in a top-down view by rotating down or orbiting. I say rotate, but we're actually orbiting. Okay, so I'm holding the left mouse button down and I'm moving my mouse around. Okay, this is a very useful tool because when we're modeling in 3D, we want to be able to see our model from various different angles. Okay, another tool that's right on the toolbar is the pan tool. If I click on the pan tool, my mouse looks like a pointer with arrows on it and basically lets me shift from right to left or left to right. Okay, but I'm not actually rotating this time. I'm kind of sliding the camera from left to right or right to left. Okay. Now, if you have a mouse with a wheel on it. So for example, mine has, I don't know if you can see that, but it has a left mouse button, right mouse button, and a little wheel here in the middle. If I roll the wheel back and forth, you can see on the screen, it should be also zooming in and out. Okay, so that's a very useful tool. If you have a touchpad, you may be able to use 2 fingers to slide forwards and backwards on the touchpad by just doing this kind of a motion. But I prefer to use a mouse. If you have access to a mouse, I would highly recommend you plug in a mouse. It's very much, I wouldn't say a requirement, but it's an advantage if you're working in a 3D drawing software. Okay, so you can notice that I don't have to be in a zoom tool if I want to use that wheel on my mouse. If I want to look at this guy's sunglasses, I put my mouse up there and then I roll forwards. If I want to zoom out, I roll backwards. If I want to look at a shoe, I point to a shoe and then I roll forward. So you can see the power of the mouse right there. Okay. The other thing that the mouse allows me to do is to do the orbit tool without actually clicking on orbit. So you can see my icon looks like a normal pointer. And if I hold the wheel down, the wheel has a little spring in it. I don't know if you knew this or not, but it acts like a button. If you press down, you can see my cursor automatically changes and I can rotate back and forth. And I can combine those two. So I can say orbit like this, and then I can zoom in with my wheel by rolling. So very powerful to have a wheel mouse at your disposal. For Mac users, I'm not honestly quite sure what the equivalent would be, as I am a PC user. Sorry about that, but you'll have to look into that yourself. Okay. All right. Now let's say I get zoomed way in on this guy's shoe, and now I don't know where I am anymore, right? Like I can't find where I am. If I orbit, see, it looks like I'm stuck. Okay. Where's the person gone to? Well, there are more tools that are buried here that are underneath here, and that's what the 3 dots is for. So if I click on the 3 dots, you can see there's an option for Zoom Extents. That's the one we're looking for. If I click on Zoom Extents, notice it pops me back out. Basically, it zooms out until I no longer have any objects off the side of the screen. Since this man is the only person in our space, or the only thing in our space, it's going to zoom out so we show him. Okay. An alternative to the wheel for zooming in and out, say, for example, on his glasses, would be the other tool there that was beside it, Zoom Window. So I can click on Zoom Window, and I can click and drag a box around his glasses, and that will allow me to zoom in. Here, sorry, I guess I must have miscalculated with the window. So if I click a window and I click and drag around his ear, it shows, well, his ear's over there, but that's okay. Okay, so again, I prefer the wheel mouse. You can see how fluid it is and easy it is, as opposed to some of these other tools, but they are there and they're buried under here. Okay, we're not going to look at camera or look around or walk. Those are much more advanced tools. Okay, so let's zoom extents back out to where we can see everything. And I want to just point out something special about our guy here. This is a special type of object. We use, well, I don't really want to get into too many details of this, but we use objects like this to help to increase the frame rate and speed inside of the model. This particular guy is just a flat cardboard cutout. Okay, so if I scroll or orbit to the top, you can see that he's just cardboard. Okay, he doesn't have 3-dimension. He's just 2-dimensional piece of paper. Okay, so what that does is it makes it very easy for me to show a complicated thing without having a complicated model in here. If I try to model him in 3D, he would have all kinds of surfaces and vertices and things for the computer to track, which makes things run slower if you're on a slower machine. Okay, so the other thing about this particular type of object is they always face you. So you notice that even though my axes are changing down here, my green and red axes are rotating, he is always staring at us. Okay, which is this is intended. Okay. All right, so now that I've got myself oriented in here and I've shown you some of the zoom tools and so forth, I think what we'll do is we will pause the video and then we'll pick up where we next want to be, which is how do we actually draw something?